At 2:47 in the afternoon, my phone lit up on the corner of my desk. 3 lines stacked like a verdict. Don't call or come by anymore. We're done. The family has decided. I stared until the screen dimmed. My cursor blinked in the middle of a layout for a client's kitchen remodel. The clock in my head kept saying 2:47 as if time had been nailed there. June, you, good Marcy, the project coordinator, leaned into my doorway, a half smile that could turn into concern if I let it. I'm fine, I said, and my voice broke on the last letter. She stepped inside. Fine never sounds like that. It is a family thing, I said. It just ended. Marcy put a paper cup of coffee on my mouse pad and kept her hand on the rim so I could not move it away. Do you need the client meeting pushed? Not yet, I said, and I finally looked down at the phone again. The messages waited like a closed door. I typed, got it, and hit send. Marcy saw my knuckles whiten. Do you want me to drive you somewhere I can drive? The lie was automatic. Thank you for the coffee. She backed out but left the door half open the way you leave a lamp on for a child. I saved the file, closed the laptop, and walked to the elevator without picking up my bag. The phone stayed in my palm like a hot stone. The air outside carried that sweet rot Louisiana wears in late afternoon. I unlocked my car and sat, engine off, hands on the wheel. The screen blinked again, Sadie's name, a new post, love my people. Family is everything when you cut out the toxic energy. Her face filled the frame, all gloss and light, behind her. Our mother's shoulder in a soft sweater I recognized from church Easters. Wine glasses lifted, Aunt Linda's rings throwing sparks. The caption stacked with pink hearts. I started the engine. By the time I turned onto Magnolia Road, another notification popped, comments flooding Sadie's sermon. You look so blessed. Protect your peace. Wish my family was like yours. I eased off the gas and coasted to the curb beneath the oaks. The Hawthorne house glowed like a postcard. I could see figures crossing the dining room, my mother's silhouette bending. Sadie's laugh opening a mouth too wide for truth. I called. The line rang once. Caroline answered without hello. If you are calling to argue, I will not engage. Did you mean it? I said. Or is this one of your lessons? It is a boundary, she said. Her voice was satin. You have been very negative. We are protecting the family's health. I transferred $2,000 this morning because you said the lights were going off. The bill was handled, she said. We are not discussing finances with you anymore. Are you having dinner without me? I said, and I heard my breath hitch. I am hosting a small gathering, she said. It is not about you. It is always about me when you need money. I will not be spoken to like that. Her tone cut. You have made your choices. We have made ours. There was a hush through the phone, the hush of people listening on the other side. Sadie's voice slipped in, sugar and vinegar. Hey, June, do not be dramatic. You know how Mom gets when you push her. I am not pushing, I said. I am asking why I am not at my own table. You are not the only one with feelings, Sadie said. You drain the room. You make everything heavy. You mean I pay for everything heavy. I said. Enough, Caroline said, and the satin tore. This cycle ends tonight. The call clicked dead. I watched the windows. A shadow raised a glass. I pressed my forehead to the steering wheel and stayed that way until the horn dared me to keep pressing. Marcy's name flashed across the screen. I answered. Where are you? She asked. Outside my mother's house. I said, do you want me to come? Stay where you are? I said, I need to see something. I stepped out, left the car idling, and walked up until I could smell rosemary on the porch rail. Laughter swelled and softened like surf. Through the glass, my mother set a plate in front of Sadie, and Sadie kissed Caroline's cheek and wiped a fake tear for the camera she had propped against the salt shaker. I turned away before they could become blurry. The phone vibrated again, an alert from my bank. The morning transfer confirmed in cheerful language. I let the door chime of my car answer for me as I slid back in. Marcy texted, "Do you need a place to go?" I typed. "I am going home," She wrote, "I will call you in 1 hour." I drove without music, letting the engine make the only sound, at a red light. I opened a new note and wrote 2 words I had never written for myself. Stop paying. Then I saved it and did not look back at the house in the mirror. I woke before dawn and sat at the kitchen table, my phone face down beside a half-drunk cup of cold coffee. Every few minutes I turned it over, hoping the message had changed. It hadn't. By 8, I was already outside Caroline's office. She ran her bookkeeping business from a rented suite downtown, a narrow space above a florist that always smelled like lilies. I waited until her assistant unlocked the glass door. "Good morning." "Mrs. Hawthorne isn't in yet," the woman said. "She is?" I answered. "Her car's outside." Caroline stepped out of the back room with her bag on her arm. Her lipstick was perfect, her smile polite. "June, this is not appropriate. Neither was last night," I said. She glanced at the assistant. "Give us a moment." The door clicked behind her. "You could have called," she said. "You told me not to," I replied. "You sent a text like a court order." Her tone cooled. "You made every visit about guilt, about what you do for us. Families do not survive constant accounting. I kept your lights on," I said. "That's not accounting, that's survival." "You wanted gratitude for being responsible," she said. "That isn't love. It's what you asked for when Dad left." Her eyes hardened. "Don't bring him into this. You think paying bills buys forgiveness. I think it should buy a seat at the table," I said. She exhaled through her nose, then adjusted her sleeve like she could straighten the air. "You were not excluded. You removed yourself with your attitude." My throat burned. "You took my money and threw a party without me." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If you need to believe you were wronged, go ahead. But do not come back to my house." I laughed once. "The kind that tastes like metal. Your house was paid with my deposits." Her hand lifted halfway, then fell. "You are unwell. June, you should talk to someone. I'm talking to you," I said. "And you're still not listening." She picked up her bag. "This conversation is finished." When she passed me, the air turned colder. I followed her outside, words catching in my chest. "Mom," I said quietly, "if Grandma knew what this family turned into." She stopped but didn't face me. "Grandma's memory belongs to me now. Don't come near it." She walked away, heels clicking, each step sounding like a door shutting. I stayed there until the florist came out to sweep the sidewalk and asked if I was waiting for someone. I said, and turned toward the street. I spent the next morning at my kitchen counter, surrounded by crumpled receipts and old bank statements. The numbers glared back at me like a trail of tiny betrayals. Every transfer, every payment marked family support, lined up perfectly with months I'd been told the lights were about to go out, or the roof had caved in. At 9, I called Sadie. She answered on speaker, her voice bright and unbothered. "Well, look who finally remembered she has a sister. I've been remembering every month when I send $2,000, I said. "Money again," she sighed. "You love making everything about sacrifice. It is sacrifice when I skip rent so Mom can host dinners," I said. I saw the photos. "Sadie?" "Oh, you mean the family dinners?" she asked. "We started doing those to bring good energy back. Mom says negativity makes her physically ill, so she cured herself with wine and hashtags." Her tone sharpened. "You're being cruel. Cruel is pretending I don't exist." There was a pause, just breathing. Then, "Mom's trying to rebuild peace." "You always drag storms in. Then why did the storms pay for your vacation to Mexico last summer?" She laughed, short and defensive. "I told you, that was a modeling job. I checked the dates." I said. "The same week, Mom cried about a hospital bill. I wired her $3,000. Her breath caught. "You've been keeping records, I've been keeping proof," I said. "Because every time I believed you, I fell deeper into debt." "Maybe you should stop sending money if it makes you bitter," she snapped. "I stopped this morning," I said. Let's see how peaceful the house feels when the next bill arrives." She went silent. I heard someone whisper in the background Caroline's voice, low and urgent. Then the line clicked dead. I stared at the phone until it dimmed, then grabbed my keys and drove to the bank. The teller recognized me. "Another family transfer," she asked kindly. "Not this time," I said. "I need the last 12 months of wire records." She printed the pages and slid them across the counter. "You must love your family very much," she said. I folded the papers. "I used to," I said. When I reached the parking lot, the heat pressed heavy, but my chest felt lighter. The ledger in my hands wasn't just proof, it was motive. And maybe, for the first time, it was mine to keep. That night I couldn't sleep. The walls of my apartment seemed to breathe with me. Every exhale filled with the echo of my mother's voice. "You are unwell, June." I opened my laptop, half to distract myself, half to prove I wasn't crazy. Months ago, I had helped Caroline set up her online banking and social media accounts. She'd left her login saved on my browser because technology gave her migraines. The memory made my stomach twist, but I clicked anyway. Her Facebook page opened. New notifications flashed like small alarms. I scrolled until I found the message icon. Inside the private inbox was a thread labeled "Family Plans" between Caroline and Sadie. The first message was from my mother, dated 4 months earlier. "She's impossible to talk to. Every visit ends in guilt. We need to phase her out before Grandma's estate is finalized." Sadie had replied with a heart emoji, and I agree. She's draining. Travis can handle the paperwork part if needed. Travis. The boyfriend with slick smiles and designer shoes. I remembered him joking about connections in real estate, how he always spoke in half-truths. I kept scrolling. "Lucille still thinks June will manage everything when she's gone," Caroline wrote. "But we can't let that happen. She'll waste it." Sadie replied, "Don't worry. Mom, Travis has a friend who can handle signatures. We'll make it official." The air in the room felt suddenly thick. I took screenshots of everything, hands trembling. The next message stopped me cold. The nursing home director asked about new documents. My mother had written, "We need to be careful," Sadie answered. Travis said he'll meet him in person. They can adjust the dates if needed. My mouth went dry. They weren't just talking about money. They were changing something legal. The cursor blinked at the bottom of the screen, waiting for me to react. I whispered into the empty room, "You forged her." The phone buzzed in my hand, a call from Marcy. I hesitated, then answered. "You haven't been in the office all week," she said. "Should I be worried I found something?" I said quietly. "Something about my mother and Sadie." "June, you sound shaken. Do you want me to come over? I can't explain it yet." I said, "But they're planning something around Grandma's estate. It's worse than stealing money. It's rewriting her." "Do you have proof enough to ruin them?" I said. Marcy paused. "Then don't confront them alone." "I won't," I said. But the lie tasted bitter. When the call ended, I opened my email and sent every screenshot to myself, labeling the folder Truth. Then I sat in the dark until sunrise, the monitor still glowing with my mother's words. "She'll waste it," I whispered back. "You already did." By Monday morning, I'd memorized every word in those messages. My coffee went cold before I realized I'd been sitting at the table for hours, reading them again and again. There was only one name that mattered now, Everett Boyd, Grandma Lucille's attorney. I found his office in an old brick building downtown. He looked up from a stack of papers when I entered, his gray eyebrows lifting. "Miss Hawthorne," he said slowly, like a memory was catching up to him. "I've been trying to reach you for weeks, about Grandma," I said. He nodded, motioning to the chair opposite him. "You should have been notified immediately after her passing, but your mother insisted you'd moved out of state. I only learned she was mistaken when the mail came back undelivered." "She lied," I said. "Seems that way." He opened a file thick with documents. "Your grandmother left a will in my care 3 years ago. It was clear, signed, witnessed. Everything was meant to go to you, the house, her accounts, her jewelry. She said you were the only one who still visited. My chest tightened. That sounds like her. But, Everett continued, a new will appeared 6 months ago. Same witnesses, same signatures, but entirely different terms. Everything redirected to your mother and sister. Nothing for you. She couldn't have signed that. I said. She could barely hold a pen last year. He handed me 2 sheets. The signatures are identical. Too identical, actually. That's why I wanted to speak to you. I suspect forgery, but I need consent to investigate. Your mother has already submitted the second will for probate. I stared at the signature's perfect curls. No tremor. Lucille's real handwriting had always danced like her spirit uneven but alive. These lines were mechanical. Can you prove it? I asked. With the right expert? Yes, but it's delicate. You'll be challenging your family in court. I'm used to that. I said. He folded his hands. I have to tell you. June. This kind of fraud, if confirmed, is serious. It could mean prison time for those involved. I thought of Caroline's smooth voice saying boundary. I thought of Sadie's fake tears on social media. Then let's make it official, I said. Everett studied me for a long moment. You have your grandmother's eyes, he said softly. She trusted you to see through people. Then I'll honor her trust, I said. He gave me copies of both wills, along with medical notes from Lucille's last year records showing she couldn't write her name, couldn't recognize faces. Proof wrapped in paperwork. As I left his office, my phone buzzed with a message from Sadie. Mom says you're spreading rumors. Stop embarrassing us. I typed back, tell Mom I spoke to Mr. Boyd. Her reply came fast. You had no right. Neither did she. I wrote. Then locked the screen. On the drive home, I replayed the signatures in my head, one real, one stolen. Both carried my grandmother's name, but only one carried her heart, and I planned to make the world see the difference. 2 days after meeting Everett Boyd, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. A woman's voice spoke quickly, careful but urgent. Is this June Hawthorne? Yes, I said. My name's Charlene Nguyen. I'm a nurse from Magnolia Care. I took care of your grandmother. Her name made my chest tighten. Is something wrong? I should have called sooner, she said. I tried. But your mother listed herself as the only contact. I finally found your number through a mutual friend. What is this about? It's about the will, she said quietly, and what happened the day it was signed. I drove to meet her at a small diner near the nursing home. She sat in a booth by the window, uniform still on, hands clasped around a paper cup. When I slid in across from her, she didn't waste time. I've worked there 12 years, she said. Your grandmother was sweet, always humming. But 3 months before she passed, things started changing. Your mother and sister came often, always during medication hours, when your grandmother would be drowsy. They brought paperwork, said it was insurance. She couldn't have understood anything. I said, that's the problem. Charlene unlocked her phone and placed it on the table. I saved a copy of the security footage before it got deleted. On the screen, grainy video filled the frame. My grandmother lay still in bed, eyes closed. Caroline stood beside her, steadying a paper. Sadie hovered near the door. A man I recognized, Travis, held my grandmother's limp hand, guiding it across the page. My throat went raw. They used her hand like a stamp. Charlene nodded. I couldn't stop them, but I couldn't forget either. Why show me this now? Because you deserve to know, and because they're still lying to the court. I closed my eyes, hearing the faint hum of my grandmother's old voice in my memory. When I looked up, the reflection of the phone glimmered between us like a confession. Charlene, I said, steady but low, will you testify if I take this to the police? She met my gaze. Yes, I already filed a report once. They ignored it. But with you, maybe they'll listen. I nodded. Then we'll make them listen. Outside, the diner's door swung open. letting in the humid air. I stepped into it, gripping my phone tight, the image still burned behind my eyes. For the first time, my fear felt like evidence. The hearing for the will was scheduled on a humid Monday morning. I arrived early with Charlene, her phone sealed in an envelope marked evidence. Everett Boyd met us in the hallway, his calm steady as ever. Beside him stood a woman with a briefcase. Dr. Lillian Chen, he said, forensic handwriting expert. Charlene squeezed my arm. "They'll be here soon," she whispered. The elevator chimed. Caroline stepped out first, dressed in pale blue, pearls glinting against her throat. Sadie followed, her hand linked with Travis's. She smiled like she'd already won. "June," Caroline said. "This is unnecessary." I kept my voice even. "Then you have nothing to worry about." Inside the conference room, the long table looked too polished for what was about to happen. Everett opened a folder and cleared his throat. As the executor of Lucille Hawthorne's estate, I'll begin with the most recent document provided by Caroline and Sadie Hawthorne. Caroline touched my hand as if we were sharing tea. "You'll get something, sweetheart. Maybe the china set." I pulled my hand away. "Keep it. You'll need something to sell for bail." Her smile faltered. Everett began to read the forged will. Every line sounded like theft wrapped in polite language. When he finished, I spoke. "I'd like to contest that document on the grounds of fraud and elder abuse." Caroline laughed softly. "You've been watching too much television." Everett gestured to Dr. Chen. She examined both versions of the will and confirmed the second signature could not have been written by someone with advanced Parkinson's. Sadie rolled her eyes. "You paid her to say that." Charlene stood then, her hands steady. I brought something better than an opinion. She connected her phone to the screen. The video played Caroline, Sadie, and Travis surrounding my unconscious grandmother, forcing her hand to move. The room fell silent except for the sound of my heartbeat. Travis shot up from his chair. "This isn't what it looks like," Detective Mason Reed, who'd been waiting near the door, stepped forward. "Then you'll have plenty of time to explain downtown." Caroline lunged for Charlene's phone, but Everett caught her wrist. Sadie's face drained of color. "You tricked us," she whispered. "No," I said. "You tricked yourselves." Reed read them their rights while the video replayed in the background, the soundless image looping like a curse. As the handcuffs clicked, Caroline turned toward me, her voice shaking between anger and disbelief. "You think you've won. You just destroyed this family." I met her eyes. "You did that the day you forged Grandma's name." When they were let out, Travis muttered something under his breath about lawyers and mistakes. Sadie followed, crying for the first time, not out of guilt but because no one believed her. Everett closed the folder and handed me the envelope of official documents. "It's not over yet," he said quietly. "I know," I answered, "but it's finally begun." 2 weeks after the arrests, the annual Hawthorne family reunion was still on. The emails came from Sadie's account, written like nothing had happened. Same place, same time, family forever. Everett wanted me to stay away. Detective Reed warned they were out on bail and still unpredictable, but I needed the truth to breathe in the same air as their lies. I arrived early at the lake house. Uncle Walter was already there, his tall frame hunched over a stack of folded papers. "You're sure you want to do this here?" he asked. "I'm sure," I said. They built their story in front of everyone. I'll end it the same way. When Caroline and Sadie arrived, they made an entrance like movie stars walking into church. Sadie had a camera clipped to her phone. "Smile, Mom," she said. "Let's show them what forgiveness looks like." Caroline smiled tight. "We're here for peace." "June, you're here because you think you still own the narrative," I said. Gasps rippled through cousins and aunts gathering nearby. Caroline's voice lifted, smooth and trained for sympathy. "My daughter has been manipulated by outsiders. She's sick, and instead of helping her, people have turned her against her own blood." I turned to Uncle Walter and nodded. He connected the projector to the power outlet. "Let's watch something," I said. Sadie stepped forward. "You can't keep humiliating us online. We're victims too." The screen behind me flickered to life. The first image appeared Caroline and Sadie inside Grandma Lucille's room, Travis guiding the limp hand across the page. Gasps grew louder. "Someone dropped a plate. Turn it off," Caroline shouted. "This is an invasion of privacy." Uncle Walter's voice boomed over hers. "Privacy ended when you stole from your own mother." Charlene stepped out from the crowd. "I took that footage," she said, "because what you did was criminal." Caroline's mask cracked. "You little stop," I said, stepping between them. "You've hurt enough people." Sadie's phone was still recording. I turned toward her. "Keep streaming. Let the world see what family looks like when the masks fall." She hesitated, eyes darting. "You think you're better than us?" "No," I said. "Just freer." Caroline suddenly pointed at me, voice trembling but loud enough to carry. "She abused her grandmother. That's why we had to protect Lucille from her." The crowd froze. Even the birds outside went silent. Uncle Walter unfolded a letter from his pocket. "This is Lucille's handwriting. She wrote it before she died." His voice shook slightly as he read aloud. "June is the only one who visits without wanting something. Don't let them take what's yours." The silence broke into whispers. Caroline lunged again, shouting nonsense about conspiracies, about forged evidence. Detective Reed stepped out from behind the crowd. He'd been there the whole time. "That's enough," he said. "You just violated your bail conditions by entering this property." 2 officers moved in. Caroline's pearl necklace snapped as they cuffed her. Sadie dropped her phone, the live stream still running, comments exploding across the screen. As they led them away, Caroline turned to me one last time. "You think this makes you family?" I didn't answer. I just looked past her to the lake, still, wide, and finally, quiet. Uncle Walter placed a hand on my shoulder. "She'd be proud," he said. I nodded, the sound of handcuffs fading into the wind. 6 months later, the lake house was mine by law. The court had settled everything faster than anyone expected. Caroline received 5 years for fraud and forgery. Sadie got 3, plus restitution. Travis was caught in Texas and sentenced to 7. I spent the morning unpacking boxes of my grandmother's things. Every drawer I opened carried her handwriting short notes on scraps of paper. One read, "You were always enough." The doorbell rang. When I opened it, Marcy stood on the porch holding a small potted plant. "I figured you needed something alive in here," she said. "I have the lake." I replied, "The lake doesn't grow if you forget to water it." She set the plant down. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine," I said. She gave me that look again, the one that heard what I didn't say. "You did the right thing. June, don't let anyone rewrite that." I nodded. "The noise is gone now. That's something." When she left, I sat at the kitchen table, the same place where I used to sort bills. There was a letter waiting in the pile of mail. The return address said Louisiana Correctional Center for Women. I opened it. 8 pages of looping handwriting poured out my mother's voice on paper. She wrote about forgiveness, about how I had misunderstood everything, how she was only protecting the family's legacy. The final line read, "Despite all you've done to me, I forgive you. A mother's love never dies." I picked up my pen and wrote one sentence back. "You were right the first time. We're done." Then I sealed it, stamped it return to sender, and set it by the door. Outside, the wind carried the smell of magnolia from the trees by the lake. I pressed my hand against the cool glass and whispered, "We're finally free, Grandma." In the reflection, I saw only one woman standing there, me,